Watch what happens when arrogant Manhattan elites ruthlessly throw a freezing, ragged old man into a brutal blizzard. Their sickening mockery turns to sheer, agonizing horror when they discover who is actually inside that frayed coat. The chilling twist ending will permanently shatter your view of human worth. Every single day, you commit a quiet, invisible crime. You do not use a weapon, and you leave no physical trace. Yet the damage you inflict is profound and irreversible. You walk down the street, step into a cafe, or glide into your office, and within 3 agonizingly brief seconds, you run a silent, subconscious algorithm in your mind. You scan the leather of a stranger's shoes, the subtle emblem on their jacket, the glint of the watch on their wrist. In that heartbeat, you appraise their net worth, and tragically, you assign them their human worth. You decide, with terrifying arrogance, whether they deserve your time, your respect, or even a fleeting smile. It is a deeply superficial, morally bankrupt game that we are all programmed to play, and it is destroying our humanity from the inside out. I have watched people throw away the greatest connections of their lives simply because the packaging did not look expensive enough. Today, I'm going to expose exactly why this hollow metric is the most catastrophic investment strategy you could ever apply to your soul. And I promise you, the story you are about to hear will fundamentally shatter the way you look at every person you meet. But before we pull back the curtain on this profound psychological revelation, at When Home Hurts 2 warmly welcomes you and thanks you for being here. If you want to break free from living on autopilot and rewire your brain with stories that heal, provoke, and awaken the true metrics of human value, please hit that subscribe button right now. Your support is the vital heartbeat of this channel, giving us the immense motivation to continue uncovering these life-changing narratives for you. Let us step into the freezing, unforgiving winds of a brutal Tuesday morning in New York City. The winter cold here does not just bite, it slices through bone and spirit, forcing millions to bury their faces into scarves and hurry through the shadows of Manhattan's concrete canyons. Yet this bitter reality ceases to exist the moment you cross the threshold of La Maison d'Or. This ultra-exclusive, ridiculously opulent sanctuary on the Upper East Side operates in a completely different climate. The heavy air inside is thick with the scent of white truffles, aged mahogany, and unadulterated arrogance. Crystal chandeliers drip with excess, casting a warm, golden, almost theatrical glow over men armored in $5,000 bespoke suits and women suffocating in layers of pristine cashmere. These are the self-proclaimed masters of the universe, sipping heavily inflated lattes, casually floating their fabricated status, entirely disconnected from the raw pulse of real life. Then, the heavy mahogany door groans open, dragging a sharp, violent gust of freezing wind into the pristine dining room. The maitre d' snaps to attention, a rehearsed, plastic smile stretching across his face, ready to worship another Wall Street titan. But the smile dies instantly. Standing in the foyer is not a hedge fund manager. It is a frail, slightly hunched old man, desperately rubbing the fading warmth back into his cracked, weathered hands. His winter coat is a tired, faded gray, heavily worn and tragically frayed at the cuffs. His leather shoes are practically scuffed, devoid of any designer pedigree, and a dull, woolen cap is pulled low, obscuring his weathered face. In a room suffocating with Patek Philippe's and Hermès Birkins, this old man is a glaring anomaly, a glitch in the matrix of ostentatious wealth. The temperature in the room plummets faster than the winter air outside. You can physically feel the collective disgust as wealthy patrons avert their eyes, whispering behind manicured hands, having already run their ruthless 3-second algorithm. They look at his frayed coat and assign his ultimate value: 0. A nuisance, a ghost who does not belong in their golden sanctuary. But their arrogance is their ultimate blindness. And what happens next will expose the devastating cost of a world that calculates worth in all the wrong ways. As the chilling silence settles over the room, the maitre d' moves in, his movements sharp and purposeful, weaponizing his authority against a man deemed utterly worthless by the room's invisible algorithm. The host's plastic smile has completely vanished, replaced by a mask of cold, bureaucratic disdain. He steps directly into the old man's path, blocking him from taking another step onto the imported marble floor. Without a shred of empathy, he informs the stranger that this establishment is fully committed, that there is a strict, unyielding dress code, and that he will have to immediately step back out into the blistering storm. From my vantage point in the corner, I watch the horrific theater of human vanity unfold. At the table nearest to the door, a junior investment banker wearing a ludicrously expensive imported silk tie actually scoffs, loudly complaining to his companion about how the city has let its standards completely deteriorate. The old man does not raise his voice, nor does he recoil in shame. He simply stands there, his cracked hands resting gently against his sides, and looks up at the maitre d' with eyes that have seen decades of winters far colder than this one. He politely asks if he might just have a corner seat at the bar, merely for a cup of black coffee to wait out the worst of the sleet. The refusal is immediate and dripping with condescension. The maitre d' motions toward the heavy mahogany door, a silent but violent eviction. In this agonizing moment, the absolute cruelty of our societal programming is laid bare for everyone to see. We have built a world where a human being seeking a moment of warmth is treated as a biological hazard simply because his coat lacks a recognizable designer label. The patrons in the room, suffocating under the weight of their own fabricated importance, sip their champagne and look away, perfectly content to let an elder be cast out into freezing temperatures. They have convinced themselves that their bank accounts grant them a higher tier of humanity, that their manicured existence must remain uncontaminated by the struggles of ordinary people. They are so blindingly intoxicated by their own superficial metrics that they cannot recognize the profound moral failure occurring right in front of their eyes. Yet, just as the maitre d' reaches out to physically guide this unwanted ghost back into the freezing storm, a voice cuts through the tension like a shattered crystal glass. An older gentleman, the managing partner of a legendary private equity firm who had been holding court in the center booth, suddenly leaps to his feet, knocking over his chair in a frantic scramble. The entire dining room freezes as this billionaire, a man whom the maitre d' practically worships, rushes toward the foyer with a look of absolute, unadulterated horror on his face. He brushes past the host and extends both hands, bowing his head in profound respect as he grasps the old man's weathered fingers. "Mr. Sterling," the billionaire breathes out, his voice trembling with a mix of shock and reverence. "What on earth are you doing standing by the door? Please, take my table." The silence that follows is deafening. It is the sound of 100 invisible algorithms violently crashing all at once. The old man in the frayed, faded gray coat is none other than Elias Sterling. He does not just have a high net worth. He owns the very ground this restaurant is built upon. He holds the lease to this opulent sanctuary. He is the quiet titan of Manhattan real estate, a man who has silently donated hundreds of millions of dollars to pediatric cancer research, while refusing to ever put his name on a single building. The color completely drains from the maitre d's face, leaving him looking like a terrified ghost. The junior banker, who had scoffed only moments ago, is suddenly choking on his own breath, physically shrinking into his bespoke suit. The sheer irony is a masterpiece of poetic justice. The most powerful, inherently valuable human being in the entire room was the only person who felt absolutely no need to prove it. Elias Sterling does not require a Patek Philippe to validate his existence, nor does he need a cashmere armor to command respect. His legacy is built on the lives he has saved and the empires he has built, not the shallow optics of his mourning attire. As Elias offers a warm, gentle smile to the panicked maître d' and quietly accepts the offer to sit down, the atmosphere in the room shifts from arrogance to agonizing shame. The patrons are forced to confront the terrifying realization that their entire worldview is a fragile, pathetic illusion. Watching the blood drain from the faces of Manhattan's self-appointed elite, you witness the sudden, spectacular collapse of the very algorithm that had ruled their pathetic social hierarchy just seconds before. The dining room of La Maison d'Or is no longer a sanctuary of superiority. It has become a glaring mirror reflecting their own emotional bankruptcy. The patrons realize, with a heavy, sinking dread in their stomachs, that they had looked at a king and treated him like dirt, completely blinded by the cheap wrapping paper of his worn coat. But the deeper tragedy here is not just that they misjudged a billionaire. The true tragedy is that if Elias Sterling had actually been just a poor old man looking for warmth, their cruelty would have remained entirely unchallenged. They are only ashamed because of his net worth, not because of their own lack of human decency. This is the rot at the core of our modern existence. We have commodified the human soul. We scan the people we meet and categorize them as assets or liabilities, completely ignoring the vast, rich oceans of wisdom, love, and experience that lie just beneath the surface. How many incredible mentors have you walked past because they did not look successful enough? How many deep, loyal friendships have you entirely missed out on because someone's social currency did not match your ambitions? How much of your own precious life are you wasting trying to curate an aesthetic of wealth, terrified that if you slip up, society will run its brutal algorithm on you and render you invisible? We exhaust ourselves climbing a ladder built on the shallowest foundations imaginable, completely unaware that the higher we climb, the more disconnected we become from the raw, beautiful truth of what it actually means to be alive. Elias Sterling sat in that opulent booth, drinking a simple black coffee, radiating a quiet, unshakable peace that not a single other person in that room possessed. True wealth is not loudly screaming for attention. It is the silent, profound comfort of knowing exactly who you are when all the external validation is stripped away. If we are to survive the profound isolation of modern existence, we must brutally dismantle this internal algorithm before it completely strips us of our humanity. You have to consciously choose to rewrite the code in your mind every single time you walk out your front door. The next time you step into a room, stop looking at the leather of people's shoes and start looking into the depth of their eyes. Look for resilience. Look for kindness. Look for the invisible scars that tell the story of a life truly lived. A person's value is not determined by the fabric they wear, but by the weight of their character and the warmth they offer to a cold world. The story of Elias Sterling is a desperate plea for us to wake up from our superficial slumber. The wrapping paper never dictates the profound value of the gift inside. And the moment you truly internalize this, the entire universe opens up to you in ways you cannot possibly imagine. You will find extraordinary magic in ordinary places, and you will finally free yourself from the exhausting, miserable race for societal approval. You are worth so much more than the brands you wear, and so is everyone you meet. Thank you for walking through this profound journey with me today. If this story challenged your perspective and resonated with the deeper truths of your own heart, at When Home Hurts 2 asks you to please subscribe, like, and share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Your active engagement is the fuel that allows this channel to keep exposing the illusions of our world and bringing you stories that ignite genuine healing. Until we meet again, walk out into the world with an open mind, judge less, love vastly more, and never forget that true human worth is completely immeasurable. The story of Elias Sterling serves as a stark, unforgiving mirror reflecting our modern society's toxic obsession with superficial wealth and social status. When a seemingly impoverished old man is coldly shunned by a pretentious maitre d' and wealthy patrons, only to be revealed as a billionaire philanthropist and the very landlord of the establishment, the arrogance of the room instantly crumbles into agonizing shame. However, the most profound tragedy lies in the unsettling realization that their remorse stems entirely from his hidden bank account, not from their own lack of basic human decency. We have constructed a hyper-judgmental world that commodifies the human soul, evaluating people as mere assets based on designer labels rather than their inherent, immeasurable worth. By subscribing to these shallow, fabricated metrics, we isolate ourselves from genuine connection and blind ourselves to the deep wisdom, resilience, and character of the people we pass by every day. True wealth never screams for validation through luxury items or social posturing. It resides in a quiet, unshakable self-awareness and the positive, selfless impact one leaves on the world. To reclaim our humanity, we must actively dismantle this brutal internal algorithm. We must consciously choose to see the depth of a person's soul rather than the fabric of their suit, remembering always that the most precious gifts of human connection are found entirely beneath the wrapping paper. A person's true worth is never defined by external metrics, designer labels, or financial status, but by the weight of their character and their fundamental humanity. Respect must never be a conditional transaction reserved only for those we perceive as powerful or useful. It is a basic human right owed to everyone. When we judge others solely by their external packaging, we not only strip them of their dignity, but we profoundly bankrupt our own souls. Starting today, make a deliberate effort to rewrite how you evaluate the people you encounter. When you interact with someone, whether it is a high-level executive, a waiter, or a stranger on the street, look past their attire and social standing. Treat the janitor and the CEO with the exact same level of warmth, dignity, and respect. Catch yourself when you make snap judgments based on appearance and actively redirect your focus to their words, their eye contact, and their kindness. Furthermore, stop exhausting yourself by trying to curate a wealthy aesthetic for the approval of strangers. Instead, invest that energy into cultivating genuine empathy and building a character that speaks for itself. What is one human quality you value most in a person that has absolutely nothing to do with money or status? Please share your thoughts politely in the comments section below so we can all read, reflect, and learn from each other's perspectives. If this message resonated with your heart, please subscribe to the channel to support our work. Your subscription provides the essential motivation we need to keep bringing you deep, thought-provoking stories that inspire genuine healing and growth.